What's good, webheads? It's time for part two of my 90s modern Spider-Man Marvel Legends action figure toy review. That's a mouthful. Try creating an acronym out of that. Anyway, it's the Hobgoblin. Or the Hobo-Goblin, as I think I called him as a child. But yeah, I still love this packaging. Even the building's freaking New York City there, and it's CGI ass. Just CGI an ass right there. And say that's the Empire State's ass. No, wait, that's Captain America. Never mind. Yeah, the purple, it's very nostalgic. With a picture of the Hobgoblin right there, throwing a pumpkin bomb. And on the back, not so much a bio, but just a blurb about deploying an eerie arsenal of pumpkin bombs and razor-sharp bats from his Goblin Glider. The criminal mastermind Hobgoblin has Spider-Man constantly on his guard. If I were writing that, I would have wrote constantly on his gourd. Because puns. And you can see the rest of them. One of my favorite figures ever. Guy I don't give a shit about, but was in the cartoon. The symbiote. Don't remember Ben Reilly. And then Shocker! I still kind of want to get Shocker. But I really don't care that much about the symbiote suit or Ben Reilly. I would consider getting the symbiote, only if you guys want me to, but anyway. Will this part 2 be as high level as, say, The Godfather 2, or as low as Amazing Spider-Man 2? Let's find out. Here is the Hobgoblin as an action figure. And I do remember him from the cartoon. There were some really good episodes with him. But I thought he was like a power-up for the Green Goblin. Even though I don't remember if the Green Goblin was actually in the 90s show. It just, super villain power-up kind of thing. But while that wasn't the case in the show, that did happen at least one time in the comic books where Harry Osborn did become the Hobgoblin at one point. Which is your interesting fact of the review. And I can't remember who the Hobgoblin was in the cartoon. But I do know that one of the people who was a Hobgoblin in the comics was Ned. Yes. Tom Holland's best buddy and tech support in the MCU. His comic book equivalent was the Hobgoblin at one point. Oh. I do like that they made reference to that somewhat in No Way Home with Ned saying, "Oh, don't worry, Peter, I won't go off and become an enemy." Just totally hinting at the Hobgoblin, but I can't see the MCU Ned being the Hobgoblin. So, the one person I could see being the Hobgoblin was Flash Thompson, the freaking school bully. Like, I can definitely see him. At least I could have before I watched No Way Home, which was a great movie. I don't know at this point if they would do the Hobgoblin in, say, a fourth movie, or if they would do Miles Morales, because Tom Holland's been talking about in interviews that he doesn't want to play Spider-Man forever. He would rather pass it on to like a Miles Morales or something like that. So don't know if they would do it that quickly, but anyway. Who's your favorite Peter Parker? Peter Parker, or Peter Parker? Mine's Peter Parker. And let's actually talk about the toy. It's okay. Here's a comparison to apparently rich dickhead Spider-Man, aka maybe my favorite action figure I own. But my baby has suffered some unfortunate paint wear because I play with him constantly. But, oh well, it still can't detract from this is an amazing toy. And this guy, he's not quite up to the same level, unfortunately. The main body is frankly not as solid, unfortunately. It's not made out of the same material. It's a bit squidgier. And we'll just go through and talk about it. He's certainly not wearing spandex like the cartoon. And don't even ask Dr. K if it's spandex or not. Take a good shot of the head for the thumbnail. Very freaky. Very good looking head sculpt. Kind of demonic. Yeah, goblin, I guess. Goblin troll, kind of. I do like the red eyes. Very nice and menacing. And it is a mask, but we'll talk about that when we get to his accessories. The cape is a talking point. It's a rubbery material. I like how bright orange it is. He's almost wearing a high vis, sort of. And the body is it doesn't translate as well as this does, in my opinion, unfortunately, because the Hobgoblin suit is so skin tight. I just don't love it as much as my mind had overhyped it. That's the thing. Because I wanted it to be the same as the same quality as this guy. Like, it took me forever to find a Hobgoblin. Like the place I bought this guy only had Shocker and Hammerhead, and even then I shouldn't have paid as much as I paid. Like slightly overcharged for this guy when I could have gotten him in a different store for cheaper. But this guy was worth the money because I absolutely love, as I mentioned in that review. I honestly I just recommend going and watching that review. Some of my most favorite work. But, yeah, this guy he's a slightly softer plastic, slightly more bendy. Unfortunately, he just doesn't feel as good. But let's take him on his own merit. And thankfully, it's not Halloween, so we can laugh and make fun of the fact that he's basically wearing a '90s X-Men suit with an orange cape and boots instead of no, ignore that instead. Yeah, he's just he borrowed a suit from the X-Men. Basically, what he did, had to slightly modify it to fit himself. But anyway, articulation-wise, the head is on a ball joint that's also on a hinge, so you can look up that far, look down that far, go side to side a little bit, full 360, the shoulders, universal joint. Ooh, excuse me. Not hindered by the cape. They can go out that far, but it's a bit tight because the joints are not the same. There's not nearly as much soft ratchety faux ratcheted goodness as it was on Spider-Man. Of course, being the rich dickhead, he gets the best toy he can for himself. I feel like you do get a bicep swivel. You do get a double jointed elbow that's hindered by his cuff. You do get a cuff swivel, but out of the box, these were so stuck that it was worrying me. Like, I felt like I was gonna break the really soft elbows just trying to get them unstuck. But once you do get an unlimited glove swivel. It has the hinge and the swivel for a wrist. I do wish he kind of had like a option, additional hands. Kind of the permanent open hand is, I wanted at least a pair of fists. Ab crunch like feels a bit not as good. Like I miss the soft again. I miss the soft faux ratcheting, and like it's not as spectacular. No wait, that was the spread because it doesn't reveal new detail and just kind of doesn't look as good. You do get a waist swivel, which is faux ratcheted, and you get a belt, which is hilarious because what is he holding up with the belt? Certainly not his pants. Like, what was he keeping? What is he keeping on this belt? Because it's definitely not his pumpkin bombs. So, besides aesthetics, what is the point of his belt for the suit? Not the toy. I mean, the actual suit itself. Hips go forward with the faux ratcheting. I like. Go back only that far. Go out. Get a musculature destroying. Unfortunately, a bit too loose thigh swivel. Like looser than I would like. Because I prefer them to keep there, but one, it's very easy to bump them out of the way. Double jointed knee, not hindered like the elbows are. Very nice. Do you have a boot? You do have a boot swivel. And you have an ankle bend. Go forward. You can barely see that. I forgot I'm wearing the same colors. And a pivot. So, posability is all there. Nothing gets hindered. Like the only thing that could get hindered is if you put the belt up, but then the belt will get knocked down anyway, so it's not a hindrance. So articulation's perfectly good. He has some things even Spider-Man didn't have, like the gloves and the boots. So, one up there. But one thing that's definitely meh or failing to live up to expectations are his accessories. So he does have his pumpkin bomb. It's nicely detailed in translucent orange with a green smoke effect, as if he's thrown it, I guess. Or maybe it's just got weird hair, which you can, I think, fit in his hand. Sort of. Like, there's nothing actually keeping it in his hand. Boing. Like, there's no friction whatsoever. I guess the best thing, okay, the best thing you could do, sort of, make it kind of work is stick it in between his fingers. Even then, it doesn't stay. So that's disappointing. But, like, it's tiny, so I can understand. And also very easily losable. But the main disappointment comes from his Goblin Glider. Now, I appreciate the minimal detailing. Trying to keep it cartoon accurate. It's, CG cartoon. Trying to keep it to that same idea. It is slightly soft, bendable plastic. It does have good molding for the goblin face. Here's the problem I have with this thing. So it's got these hooks that you're supposed to slide his feet into. And I have two problems with this. A, look what I have to do just to get his feet in there. And B, there's no proper connection. Like, there's no friction. There's no peg where like his ankle could peg into. I feel like I'm gonna rip the connection, like the hooks off. This this is what brings this figure down to Amazing Spider-Man 2 levels of sequel disappointment. Like, this should be the main display feature. Like this is your biggest selling point besides the fact that he's Hobgoblin. Is he should be able to stand on this easily, and this should be able to peg into like a Tamashi stage or something like that, so he can be dynamic and flying through the air. But like, okay, now there's some friction. Now he's on it. How easy can it be? Oh wow, it's actually on there good. No, it's not. There was barely any friction, so my criticism still stands. This glider is disappointing. Where's Kevin Sorbo when you need him? Disappointed! Because I built this guy up in my head, hopefully to be as good as the spider armor. But you just kind of have to hope he hooks onto it, and yeah. Do I need to say more than that? Well, I do, because we have one other accessory. And let's say you're Nicolas Cage and you want to take his face off. Because you want to attach what may be the most hilarious supervillain accessory I've ever seen. A purse. Just a straight up purse. Solidly cast, flexible purse with a tiny bit of paint on it. I'm guessing he keeps his bombs in this, but like, I've never. It never occurred to me that the Hobgoblin had a purse. It's so thin it only has one side. And I can see it. Now you can't. See? Now it's invisible. But yes, you aren't Nicolas Cage and you want to take his face off to wear the purse. Not just his eyes, nose, or skin, but his whole head off, in fact. Let's just do that. Take it off the ball joint and slip off the cape. And oh, look, you have a port for a stage, possibly. You know, something that should be on the Goblin Glider. Along with better attachments to the Goblin Glider. But you just slide it on there. And I believe that's on the right. Yes, that's on the correct side. And also, I'm going to bring back Spider-Man for a second because I want to show this off. I was hesitant to remove his head in his review, but now that I've done it, it's actually a barbell ball joint, which is a ball joint on each side. One in the body, one in the neck. So you can do something stupid like this. Also, I don't really think... no, you need to... Oh, no, you can find an easier way to attach the purse, but I needed a segue. So, yep, you can do that, which means you can attach the goblin head to the armor. If that looks ridiculous. But let's say you want to see who's under that mask. Well, you can't, but you can take the head out of the hood because they're a separate piece and give Spider-Man a very weird looking head that makes his neck look way too long. Let's give him his head back. So now I really am just playing face off at this point. There you go. Proper spider. And, in fact, I'm just going to put his head on. Like, I feel like he looked like this in the cartoon. I can't confirm that, but I feel like he did rock this look for at least once. But I'm probably wrong and just thinking about the X-Men. So let's put his cape back on. Let's give him his head back. And there you go. The glider and the pumpkin bomb, though, never leaving the package again. So, final thoughts. I like him, but I'm not blown away by him. Like, I wish I liked him as much as the Iron Spider. I think the thing is, I built him up way too much in my head. So, like, my fantasy is a lot better than the reality. Most of the time, that is true. But in this case, it leads me to be, unfortunately, disappointed with this guy, but I'd still recommend him on his own. If you're a fan of the Hobgoblin or the 90s cartoon, or I know these two never fought, but I'm going to have them fight each other. If you're a fan of this guy, then he is solid enough to, I think, be worth it, just about. But don't pay more than maybe 30. He's definitely not worth more than 30 because the glider is such a disappointment. Like I can't believe how much of a disappointment. Like that glider is a legit disappointment. Like it's really unfortunate how much that brings him down. I'd love to see like a Hot Toys, like one of those licensed high-end action figure toy lines take a shot at the Hobgoblin. Maybe they already have, and I don't know. But I'm curious if they could make it work. Because even though the body itself, the toy himself is perfectly fine and actually enjoyable for a modern toy, it's just his biggest and most important accessory, again, lets him down, unfortunately. So, yeah. That might be the end of my look at Marvel Legends. There's no real other figures that really excite me besides Shocker, just for the memes. And maybe the symbiote, just to recreate that scene where he chases Shocker up the bell tower. Yeah. Again, just for the memes. But let me know in the comment section down below. Are you guys going to pick this up? Do you want me to keep reviewing this line? Maybe if they do like a Rhino or a Mysterio or like a big, bulky, proper Venom, those would be really cool. But let's all agree on one thing. That as lame as Morbius was in the 90s cartoon. It was a hell of a lot better than whatever the fuck the movie was. I think we can agree on that now. Alright. I'm going to go swinging through animated Brooklyn. See you guys later. But until next time, keep it weird. Bye bye.